So after part one covered how to innovate, now some barriers to innovation, some difficulties that companies might encounter uh, when they try to make something new, but also when they try to make that next big thing so that they stay relevant, so that they stay on top of the market. So here are from a survey of 270 companies, why does the innovation go wrong? And uh, sometimes it can be more than one issue at once, but politics or turf wars means each group wants to take credit for it. The design team wants to take credit. The marketing team wants to take credit, and they're fighting with each other over who can get the credit. Sometimes the no alignment might be that the design team is, for example, going to make a certain type of I don't know, maybe a Chromebook type device for make a lightweight computer, but then the marketing team wants to make something for the creative people in the world, and there's no alignment. They have conflicting goals. They haven't gotten on the same page. Cultural issues that can be failure, refusal to speak up. So Facebook encourages giving feedback and presenting ideas to avoid that sort of cultural issue. Or sometimes they don't want to speak up because they don't want someone to steal their ideas. Not seeing what's going on. Blockbuster didn't see how people no longer wanted to visit the video store, and they didn't move into streaming fast enough. Just sometimes there's just no budget. It's the money's so tight, or maybe it's a company that's focused on keeping costs low. There's no free budget. They don't understand what's going on. They don't understand what's the new technology. So, for example, every major car manufacturer is working towards some idea of an electric car because they need to stay on top of these emerging technologies. So, uh, you know, also sometimes an example of the turf war is when choosing which idea out of several prototypes or which idea to focus on, people choose the one that they created or that their own division created. They have a bias. They don't give the other division credit, the other department credit, and it would be best for the company to go in another direction, but people push their own ideas. So in the 2000s to 2010s, Microsoft really struggled, and that was because they had issues with Office, the productivity software, Windows, the operating system, and the mobile apps. So uh, they Google Docs was launched, and that was a big innovation. It combined word processing with the cloud, and you all use it now to prepare your documents. But rather than integrate Office into an Internet Explorer or find a way to evolve Office, they were getting lots of money from sales of Office. So Microsoft actually slowed down Internet Explorer so that Google Apps wouldn't work as well. Well, that just annoyed many Internet Explorer users. Many people switched to Chrome, and now IE is dead. And they were always fighting. Do we want Office sales? Do we want Windows sales? They never really made an Office for mobile, and so they didn't actually want people to use Office in a cloud like Google Docs because they thought it would decrease the number of people who would want to buy and download and pay for Windows. So they were trying to milk that Windows and that Office so much, and they didn't really create anything for a while. Since then, they've restructured themselves, and it's more on the same page and less of that competition. So cultural issues, there might have been a past failure that has discouraged companies. It might be that people don't feel that they're comfortable sharing their new ideas, that the company doesn't take risks, that they want to stick with what's already profitable. So BlackBerry continued to market itself as a corporate product in the mid 2000s, ignoring the consumer market. They saw themselves as a corporate product no matter what. They didn't see that, hey, the there's so many consumers out there. Like there's only so many businesses, but the number of consumers is several times that. If we could have a big consumer product, we'd be in great shape. And then they never really made a product that had features the consumer market wanted. So they kept putting the keyboard on everything because they thought it was their signature item, and they never embraced a touch screen until it was too late. And they also, because of all the procedures in the office there at RIM, it took a long time to generate new versions and new models. So just the features that consumers and customers desperately wanted never materialized. The inability to anticipate the future. Well, you don't know what's going to happen in the future. Yahoo has turned down the chance to buy Google, eBay, YouTube. And where's Yahoo now? They didn't see that people would be shopping online and so much and watching videos, or that the Google search engine would be quicker and give people the best results. They didn't want to accept advertising because they wanted, firstly, their searches to be objective. But it turned out advertising was the way all these browser companies were getting their money, and these search engine companies were getting their money. So it then tried to develop its own advertising, setup. But it took too long to develop, and they just could not monetize the advertising. It had a leading market position. It could have easily created Yahoo Mobile, and it could have become like Facebook or like YouTube, uh, and they just never did. But it wasn't like they didn't have the ideas. They had executives who later created WhatsApp and other apps that moved when they left Apple. They just weren't able to do it when they were there. And the companies that it did buy, like Tumblr, the microblogging service, micro microblogging site, GeoCities, free websites and servers. Uh, they came with many users, and they were trying to buy those users, but they never really incorporated all these features into Yahoo to make a new product that people wanted. Not understanding what the vision would be. So I mentioned Netscape earlier. Uh, Feature bloat was their problem. And that's a tech term for when you keep adding so many features, eventually the whole software becomes very, very cumbersome, and it takes a long time, and it just takes long to make new versions. You keep adding one thing after another. Well, no, need to get your product to market. So they had, up until version 4, things were great for Netscape as a browser. But then version 5 was not released because they had too many additions. They never had a version 5. Version 6 was released instead. And then it was so buggy, no one wanted it. And then they decided, well, let's make enterprise software to help businesses do their operations. But nobody wanted that from Netscape. They didn't have a vision that Netscape browser is going to give you the quickest, easiest search results, something that Google had. And they got caught up with a rival with Microsoft. They tried to sue Microsoft for antitrust violations, arguing that Microsoft had become too big and was trying to force Internet Explorer to Windows users. And although they were successful with that argument, it didn't get them anywhere because their executives are too busy fighting Microsoft to make sure that the product's being properly developed. Not using emerging technology. That means you're redefining what's already on the market, or refining it is good, right? There's a new version of a car every year, but those truly impactful innovations will be ones that use emerging technologies. So Apple's flatlined a little bit lately. It's struggled. It's not growing as much because it really hasn't had a great innovation since the iPhone. The iPad's kind of a version of the iPhone. The iWatch is, the Apple Watch is a iPhone on a watch. So what's the next thing? Their software is about 2 years behind the competition. They should need to look ahead, like to be a little more efficient. And AI is a big deal, and we'll learn more about that in future weeks. But the Siri and Apple Home don't really use AI or machine learning that well. It's almost as if it would be better to maybe mothball some of those projects and really get involved in the next big machine learning idea. So, how do we struggle with this? How do we overcome these struggles? Well, compensation is tying bonuses to overall company performance. So if the company does well with a new idea, everyone does well. Stacked rankings means you rank every employee from first to worst, and you fire the worst 10 or 20%. It's called rank and yank sometimes. And it can be very, very stressful. People try to protect their ranking, and they'll never advocate for someone else's ideas. There'll be turf wars, they'll be protective, there'll be backstabbing. So instead, if the company succeeds, why not give everyone credit? Why do we have to have someone get the most credit and someone get the least? And then they'll add into their employee evaluations the ability like being a resource and helping people. So Satya Nadella, who's pictured there, when he took over Microsoft, he changed they used to be big on the stacked rankings when Steve Ballmer was in charge. And then they changed it to include teamwork with others and growth and learning over the year. The encouraging side projects, letting anyone pitch an idea. Google gives people one free day a month to work on ideas, and that's how, for example, they came up with Gmail. Using AI to automate daily tasks. Amazon automated daily tasks, and so the person who was in charge of, ordering for them was freed up to be a bit more creative, and they thought of the Amazon Go idea as a way to include smartphones and shopping and make a dramatically new store. Encouraging cross departmental teamworks. Instead of having everyone, we would call that silos, when finance doesn't talk to production, doesn't talk to marketing, doesn't talk to HR. But actually, if everyone collaborated, there'd be an exchange of ideas, there'd be different perspectives. Someone might bring a new viewpoint to the idea. And so it needs to be easy to communicate and give feedback within the organizations, and try to flatten out a little bit of the hierarchy. If there's many levels between the lower worker and the CEO, it'll just take that much longer for ideas to get to the top. So Google Home, all of the apps, teams had to work together to have the system be functional, with AI, with design, with the speaker, with the search engine. Everyone had to work together at Google to design that device. Failure might not be the end of the world. Sometimes they say fail fast, fail forward, meaning if you're going to fail, get it out of the way and learn from it. Or if you're going to fail forward by learning from your mistakes. And I think you might have a project at school that doesn't go as well, but hey, fail forward by taking something from the experience. So failures can be a chance to improve the product. You let go of the past failures. You don't keep worrying about them, but you don't let go of the learnings. You keep those learnings. So Facebook is an example of getting features to market quickly and fixing and debugging them later. So they try to get things done as quickly as possible, and then they figure once it's out there, we can always fix it. So their mobile app has been fixed a lot, but they put it out there as quick as they could to fail fast. And so now that you've done some studies about what goes wrong with innovation, especially in technology, have a look at the group assignment where I've given you a list of some companies that have dropped off the Dow Jones Industrial Average, and do some research into why those companies may have failed lately, and try to incorporate some of these thoughts from this presentation, analyze them. Why do you think they were unable to innovate?